Business series. Today, you're viewing part one, entitled Starting a Business. The next segments of our series occur on May 14th at 2 p.m. and May 21st at 2 p.m. Each session is designed to share information about our department's programs developed for your direct benefit as small, medium, and large businesses, nonprofit organizations, and creative ventures. Please be sure to attend. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items I need to go over. Number one, everyone will need to be muted prior to the start of the panel. Number two, if you have a question for our panel, type your question in the chat box. We will answer it at a later time in the presentation. You can leave your camera on or off. Please view to speaker view. This will help you see the speaker better. We will circulate an evaluation before we end today. Please make sure you complete it and return it back to us. Your feedback to us is important. We need to know how we're doing and what we're doing well and what we're not doing well and how we can improve. Casey, slide 3, please. Ms. Cassie Jackson and Ms. Susan Walker are my co-pilots today, and I'm glad that they're here. So they'll be assisting me as we go through this. Before we introduce our speakers, let me tell you a little bit about the Economic Development Department. The City of Austin's Economic Development Department supports and recruits business to Austin through our 6 divisions: small business, global business, expansion, redevelopment, music and entertainment, cultural arts, and heritage tourism. Our mission is to promote a competitive, sustainable, and equitable economy for all. Next slide, please. Last year was an unprecedented year for all our local businesses. The COVID-19 pandemic forced most business owners, nonprofits, or creators to cancel events, close their doors, or operate with significantly reduced person interaction. Our department supported and sustained many businesses, nonprofits, and creatives during this time by, number one, launching 14 economic recovery programs between April 2020 and January 2021. Number two, providing financial assistance to 5,101 businesses and creatives impacted by COVID-19. Number three, facilitating more than 1,000 hours of virtual, no-cost virtual business training, educational events, and coaching. And then number four, created what we call the ATX.com, which is a one-stop shop place for the community to come and find out information about COVID-19 grants and services. Next slide, please. These efforts, coupled with many Austinites' resolve and determination to succeed, resulted in 32% of businesses and creatives reporting growth despite the pandemic. Additionally, 28% reported remaining steady last year. Our survey also found that 91% of businesses who participated in programming offered by our department reported that our programming strengthened their operation in 2020. Next slide, please. With that in mind, let me introduce you to today's panel. Our first presenter is Mr. Lance McNeil, a program manager in the Small Business Division. Next slide, please. Next, you will hear from Skyra Redu, an Economic Development Services Coordinator with Austin Resource Recovery. Next slide, please. Then you will hear from Kimberly McCarson, the Business and Economic Development Liaison at ED's Music and Entertainment Division. Next slide, please. Finally, you will hear from Carol Frazier, the Food Systems Program Coordinator in ED's Global Business Expansion Division. Next slide, please. With that, I'll turn it over to Lance. Take it away.
Thank you, Dusty, and welcome everyone who's joined us today. This is our 5th and final day of Small Business Week. So we appreciate you being here on this Friday afternoon. Hope that you have had an opportunity to take advantage of this week-long series of training and events, and welcome you again here today to learn more. So as Dusty said, my name is Lance McNeil. I have been with the city for about 6.5 years now. And during that time, I've had the great privilege to meet with many business owners in all different phases and try and help and connect them with different resources. And even before coming on to the city of Austin, I was doing that work in the community with a community lender. And I want to talk to you just a moment today about one of the services that we offer, and that's coaching. And we've offered coaching services from the small business division for as long as I can remember, at least 10 years going back, probably longer than that. And there's a tremendous resource in coaching. If you haven't met with a coach or a mentor before, I shared this quote up here on the slide from Dr. Atul Gawande, who is a surgeon, as well as a best-selling author and speaker. You can find a lot of Dr. Gawande's books available through the library, and he's got a TED Talk that's really great. And the TED Talk is about coaching and mentoring and really the value in that. And as a surgeon, he has a coach, and I found that interesting. And he shares this quote here about coaches providing that accurate picture of reality and instilling new habits, positive habits of thinking, and breaking up actions that may be kind of holding us back. And he gives an example in his TED Talk, you can go check it out, of actually having someone there observing him in the surgery room and giving feedback on the placement of the lighting, how he presented himself while he was working. And there were small things that he got as feedback in order to make adjustments with how he was holding his tools, how he was presenting himself over the patient. And he really appreciated that because it gave an outside perspective for one of the first times. And we always think about our first responders, our medical professionals as being these experts that we entrust our lives with. And it was really refreshing to hear that even so, they're looking to get better as well. And so I know I could speak for many when they say, when we think about a surgeon or a doctor, one who's received coaching and one who hasn't, who would you rather put your life in the hands of, right? And so that's one of the great benefits of coaching and mentoring. And Cassie, if you could go to the next slide, I just want to touch on a few others more practical for our business owners here. So when you think about meeting with a coach or a mentor, it is an opportunity to get that outside perspective. It's also an opportunity to zoom out of the business. When you're in the business, especially as a single founder, a solo entrepreneur or sole proprietor, you're wearing all of the hats and you're in the weeds day to day. You're answering the emails, you're in the logistics of the business. And oftentimes you don't get an opportunity to step out of working in the business to work on the business. And if you carve out some time with a coach or mentor, you can make sure that you're investing in that time to think strategically. And it's also a good opportunity to think about, as you do that, looking at new business opportunities, looking at new ways to grow. And a mentor can help you with that as well. If you are on that lonely island of entrepreneurship by yourself, bringing someone in can also help open doors to extending your network. So coaches, mentors can make new connections and introductions for you, whether it's to a resource provider or a prospective customer. That can be a great role that they play as well. I also often hear what's the difference between a coach and a mentor. And a coach is often a generalist and can help in a broad range of things, whereas a mentor typically has maybe a smaller breadth of knowledge, but it goes much deeper, right? So miles deep and a few inches wide for a mentor. And oftentimes they've been in the industry and have years of experience that they are bringing. And so they may have been in marketing, management, finance, and they can bring that subject matter expertise that you can get some specific feedback on. I'll also encourage you to meet with a mentor so that you can improve your own self-confidence. So it's a great way to get feedback, but it's also helpful in getting validation. Knowing that you're doing the right thing and being kind of validated for that goes a long way. Just getting some reassurance, and that can be a benefit of coaching and mentorship as well. And then if you've talking to somebody who's been around the block, right, a little gray in their hair, they can tell you about common pitfalls, mistakes they've made. And it's not, story time with, someone with gray in their hair. It's really about lessons learned so that you don't make the same mistakes they did. And there are plenty of mentors in and around Austin who can serve that purpose. And through the coaching program, we can bring a little bit of that experience too, but we're certainly not the only shop in town. And then the last two things I'll say are kind of focus on goals and also having an accountability partner for your goals. So it's one thing to have goals and you keep them in your mind and maybe they happen and maybe they don't, and maybe you just watch Netflix instead. Then you write them down. They become a little more real, right? But then who else sees them? Who's really going to hold you accountable? It's hard to be self-disciplined enough to hold yourself accountable when so many things can come up. Having that outside accountability partner, sharing those goals with someone makes you much more likely to actually achieve those goals and kind of persevere through the challenges that might hold you back. And having that other person, of course, can be a sounding board to help you think about how to overcome barriers and overcome challenges in reaching those goals. So there's a lot of benefits here in working with a coach or a mentor. And I think the next slide, we talk about how to access coaching and mentoring through the city of Austin. So we offer no cost and confidential one-on-one coaching services, and it's all happening virtually through Zoom or over the phone. The only prerequisite to accessing the service is we ask that you take our business orientation, our BizAid class. And this webinar is live, taught by one of our instructors. It answers a lot of the frequently asked questions about starting a business. We try to answer those outside of the one-on-one format. And then also, if you're new to Austin, like so many people are, it kind of orients you to all the resources that we have available. And that one-to-many setting just helps us get that information out there a little more efficiently. But it's also a great opportunity to connect with and extend your network with other peers who are starting a business and or new to Austin. Now, once you take the orientation, you qualify as long as you are in the metro area, which is a 5-county area. And as long as you have a business address or a residential address in that area and you've taken BizAid, you can meet with a coach for one-on-one, confidential, no-cost consultation. That relationship can go on as long as it is useful and as long as you are making progress to goals that you and your coach set forth. So we're happy to offer that service. We have for quite some time. And if it's something you're interested in, after you take the BizAid orientation, you'll be given the opportunity with instructions on how to access your coach. And then if you look at the bottom of the slide here, there's my contact information with my email address. If you've already taken BizAid before and you're now ready to meet with the coach after this convincing argument, you can shoot me an email. We'll be happy to connect you with a coach and happy to answer any questions that you all have. Thanks, Dusty.
All right, next person. Skylar.
There we go. Good morning, or good afternoon. I was having trouble unmuting myself.
That's all right.
Thanks, Dusty. Really excited to join everyone this afternoon. My name is Sky Rarito. I'm the Economic Development Services Coordinator. I have a really wonderful opportunity of being a liaison between two departments within City of Austin. So I serve in Austin Resource Recovery's Circular Economy team, but I also sit on the Economic Development Department's Global Business Expansion team. So I get to work with everyone that you're going to hear from on this panel this afternoon, specifically with Carol Fraser, and I'm really excited about what they're going to talk to you about when it comes to food. But my specialty is in circular economy, and I always like to start off with what is the circular economy. It's an emerging framework that's coming out. It's not something you hear very often. So just to orient us to what that means, I want to just share a little bit about how circular economy kind of works. So according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, circular economy is really a framework for an economy that's restorative and regenerative by design. So It looks beyond our current like take, make, waste, extractive industrial model from a business standpoint, and is really based on 3 principles. And those 3 principles are designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use constantly, and then regenerating natural systems. And you're like, Skyra, that sounds great. What does that really mean? So typically when we're talking about a linear business model, right, or a linear system, we're talking about raw materials that are extracted from the earth. So there's raw materials that you're using to create whatever product that you're offering to your clients. It's designed or assembled into a product that's produced and then distributed and sold to the consumer, which is the end user. And then at some point, it's disposed, right? It ends up in the landfill. And so when we're talking about a circular economy, what we're talking about is really keeping our products and materials constantly in use. So for example, let's take food. So farmers grow food, we end up buying it either at a grocery store or from a restaurant, right? And then it's usually disposed of and ends up in the landfill. Well, in a circular economy, that organic waste would then be collected and composted and turned into soil, which would then be given back to the farmer. So it creates a more circular way of us using our resources so that we're extracting less raw material from our planet, therefore protecting our finite resources, and we're taking care of people at the same time while creating new ways to employ more people in the process. So that's really what a circular economy looks to work through. And those are the types of businesses that I work with on a regular basis. And the reason why this framework is really important for Austin, and of course our economic development goals, is the circular economy is really designed to create a more resilient economic framework, right? So imagine if we were better prepared to incorporate our circular economy framework during COVID-19, right? We could have minimized disruptions, we could have employed people and taken better care of our planet at the same time. And just to give you a real idea of kind of what that looks like, since the lockdowns began in March of 2020, we've seen our recycling systems break down and our ocean plastics has increased, right? So 8 million metric tons of plastic waste enter our oceans every single year. And this equates to about 1 garbage truck's worth of plastic just being dumped into the ocean every minute. And so COVID-19 really triggered an estimated global use of about 129 billion face masks and 65 billion gloves every single month. And that's just from a PPE standpoint. So when it comes to the rapid rise in single-use plastic, 2021 is on pace to see a 30% increase in waste. And so the important thing is that we want to make sure that we're minimizing those types of things and really keeping our materials in use here within the city of Austin. And so, you know, we want to maintain that we deserve an economically prosperous future that retains our valuable and natural material resources here in the city of Austin. And of course, we want to incorporate quality of life that includes the preservation and regeneration of our city and our planet's natural resources, while considering the people who live on this planet as well. And so we do that by transitioning to a circular economy that not only reduces our environmental impact, but can also create a higher quality of life for the Austinites who live here. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys kind of a framework for what the circular economy is. Next slide, Cassie. And so our vision through the circular economy program, right, is to make Central Texas into the most restorative and regenerative economy in the United States, where every material can be locally recovered and put to its fullest economic and social potential. Every single person has equitable access to its economic opportunity, and every single community within Austin is thriving. That's really that we're trying to see accomplished. How are we doing that? Next slide. So there's a couple ways that we do that through our program. We have a really awesome and amazing team that works to do this on a day-to-day basis. And so what we're doing is our program initiatives work to support behavior change in education and events. For residents, like we have Move Out ATX, which is a partnership with UT Austin that helps students to remove gently used items that are commonly thrown away when they're moving out of their dorm rooms. And put them into the hands of our local reuse organizations. And so it's an opportunity for us to keep those items out of the landfill and also support our reuse organizations simultaneously. And then we also offer Fix-It clinics, which is a series that teaches residents how to repair items for reuse instead of disposing of them, right? So if you have a TV or an oven or a washer or a toaster or something that breaks at your house, the Fix-It clinic series really provides experts who come in and teach you how to repair those items and continue to reuse them as opposed to them ending up in the landfill, which helps from an economic standpoint, right? Since you're not putting more money out to purchase new items, and you're able to retain those items and they're not ending up in the landfill. So we're taking care of our planet and our people at the same time. And then we also have our reverse pitch competition, which is happening right now. It's also a partnership with our small business program. And currently it's in its 6th year. And what the reverse pitch competition does is it helps us turn our valuable raw materials that are currently leaving our local businesses and our nonprofits and our institutions as waste. So things that they're not able to reuse, that they're throwing away. And it allows us the opportunity to create new social enterprises from that. So what happens is our business community pitches whatever that material is that they're throwing away. And then anyone from the community who wants to be an entrepreneur can take that waste stream and pitch a business idea, and we support them through that process. So what that looks like is currently they're going through an accelerator or an incubator program where we offer them a monthly stipend for them to turn that waste stream, that material, into a new business idea. And that's going to culminate in a pitch competition where we're going to introduce those entrepreneurs to investors as well. Next slide, Cassie. And then my work specifically focuses around economic development services and resources, which is what's going to be most beneficial for you guys who are on this call, who are really interested in growing and expanding your business. So one of the 3 things that I do is I support the Material Spotlight Project. So what we're doing is we're identifying any type of material within the city of Austin that's currently being wasted. And right now we're focused around food. So really mapping our food ecosystem from cradle to cradle. So from farmers and where it's grown to how it ends up as waste, or putting it back into the ecosystem. And then identifying where waste is happening along those supply chains, and figuring out how to not only minimize that waste, but how to also support food recovery, food access, and food sovereignty for our communities that are located here in the city of Austin. The other thing we do is we offer a bi-monthly business networking event called Circular Meetups. Our next one is going to be on June 1st. It's over lunch, so it's at noon. It's only 1 hour. I call it fun, fast, and informational. So we usually have businesses who come and talk a little bit about their business at the meetup, and opportunities and challenges they're experiencing. And then we have a networking breakouts in between each speaker. So you get the opportunity to connect with other businesses who also have a circular economy framework as a part of their business model. So you can kind of talk together about what's happening within the industry and how you can all partner together to address some of those obstacles or concerns. And then the main focus of my job is really kind of similar to Lance's, is I offer one-on-one business consultations as well, but it's very specific to helping you identify any opportunities for growth. So if you're trying to create more jobs, if you're looking to expand, my job is to connect you to the incentive programs through the city of Austin or through the state that offers you rebates or anything like that to help your business grow and expand. Connecting you to other stakeholders who can support your business. So whether you need specific types of talent, workforce development, or training, we have partners who can help you get access to those resources, or of course, connecting you to other businesses who continue to support your growth. We want to make sure that our businesses here are successful. They have all the resources that they need to continue to grow, and that we're able to continue to provide jobs for the Austinites who live here, and of course, take care of our people and our planet at the same time. And so that's kind of the work that I do, and my specific focus when it comes to entrepreneurship and providing resources to businesses. It's really fun work. I love it. And I look forward to the opportunity to meet with anyone on this call who kind of fits that model. You can see my email at the bottom. Please feel free to email me at any time. My job is to be here for you and to provide you access to resources that you need to continue to be successful here. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about my program. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Dusty.
Thank you, Sparrow. Very good. All right, Kim McPherson. Kim, are you there?
There, now, am I muted now?
Yes, you are.
Great, all right. I'm Kim McPherson. I'm the Economic and Business Liaison for the Music and Entertainment Division. I help guide creative spaces such as music venues, theaters, art galleries through the permitting process. For example, if you're moving into a new space or you were recently visited or maybe cited by a code officer, or you're renovating a space with the hopes of increasing your load, card, or capacity, I can help you get through that process. Why is this important? Because the lack of essential permits, not understanding or not conforming with regulations can result in costly and time-consuming setbacks. Some of the most common requests I get include help with certificates of occupancy, preliminary site plan reviews, zoning, and parking requirements. So your certificate of occupancy, what is that? For example, you might be an indoor entertainment business or a restaurant or an art gallery. The certificate of occupancy is an official document that states what use your building is approved for. It's the use for which you can occupy that building. Many small business owners don't know what a certificate of occupancy is, but it is fundamental, and operating without one can be detrimental to your business. So a real life example of this is a small creative space that I'm familiar with that operated for several years without a certificate of occupancy. The business owners didn't know what it was, and they didn't know they had to have one. And then one day a code officer was inspecting a business nearby and saw this new space, or not new, but new to the code officer, and decided to pay them a visit. And it was a surprise. So the officer quickly realized that the business did not have a certificate of occupancy, and they were in violation of several building codes. So the space had to shut down for several months while they were raising money to pay for and complete the necessary renovations to get them in compliance with the building codes. While they were closed, they weren't making any money. So they worked out a time-limited deal with their landlord, but unfortunately the business ended up running out of time and had to vacate the space. So this is an example I wasn't aware of until it was way too late in the process, but it's the kind of thing that can go terribly wrong if you aren't aware of your certificate of occupancy. The preliminary site plan review. This is the kind of thing that might be required for many things. For example, renovations to satisfy code regulations, like I was just explaining in my example. Or if you want to change your building use, you want to maybe increase your load card, which is important for assembly spaces of 50 people or more. Zoning, this is another one I get a lot. Zoning tells you what the land and the buildings on it can be used for. This is very land specific. Always know what a property is zoned for before you move in. Can you have light industrial there? Can you have a retail there? Can you have an art gallery? Is it residential only? Landlords may not always tell you. I also get a lot of questions about parking requirements in Austin. So every zone except the Central Business District, the CBD, has parking requirements according to the use of the building and the occupancy levels. For example, if you're an art gallery and you want to change your use to an indoor entertainment space, you might discover that you might be required to increase your parking availability, and you might have to provide more parking spaces or come up with a plan. So this is the kind of thing that you'll have to come up with. There's a formula and there's a system for it, and I can help you get through that process. So these are some examples of the kinds of processes that I can assist with. I'll introduce you to the right staff. I help you get meetings scheduled. I'll be your contact for follow-up questions. If something gets stuck in the process, I can find out what the holdup is. I can reach out to my colleagues in other departments and help find solutions, create pathways for you, and hopefully help you save time and money. I hope that you'll take advantage of these services, and I hope to hear from you about your permitting needs. If you're listening in and you're not a creative space, I tend to specialize in creative spaces for arts and music. But those of you who are not creative spaces, you can still contact me, and I'll connect you with the right colleague, maybe in the small business division or with a development process team personnel over at Development Services. And they are familiar with a wider range of businesses. So with that, I think next is Carol Frazier, who will be talking about resources for Austin's food industry. Carol.
Carol, are you there?
There it is. Sorry, I was just waiting to be unmuted. I could not unmute myself. Thank you. And thank you, Kimberly, for that introduction. And thank you to Dusty for organizing and the other panelists for your great information so far. So I'll wrap it up here with the EDD team. So my name is Carol Fraser. I am the Food Systems Program Coordinator within the Global Business Expansion Division of Economic Development Department. My pronouns are they, them. And I've been working at the City of Austin in this role for about a year. I'm probably the newest team member here. I have previous experience working both in the private sector side of food businesses. I have worked as an organic farmer. I've worked in restaurants and bakeries, and I have experience running my own operations. And then I also have background in working with community-based organizations and nonprofits. So I'm able to provide a perspective on the food industry kind of based in both of those worlds. And the food industry in Austin, maybe you're already involved with it, or maybe you're thinking about getting involved. Well, that's very exciting. It's one of the largest parts of our local economy, and it's deeply interrelated and interconnected to hospitality, entertainment, some of the other sectors that we've discussed here already today. So maybe you're interested in having a more sustainable business. So it's really an exciting time, and I encourage you to consider it as you think about your future business goals. So the things I can help you with, in addition to some of the other things that were mentioned by my colleagues, I can really discuss with you what is the current state of the food industry and where might your business idea or your business as it evolves fit in, and essentially help you find your market niche. We can discuss your business plans, help refine your business ideas. And I can also help make connections. Perhaps you're looking for a distributor or a farmer, a producer for your enterprise, or maybe you're looking for ways to get your product to market, or investors or funders. These are all the kinds of resources that I can speak with you about one-on-one, and we can discover together what might be most relevant or appropriate. I also have access to various types of data on the food industry. If you have a specific question about your business idea or where you want to go with your business, we can get into that as well. And I just want to highlight, Skyra alluded to this a little bit, we have many things in the works with the food industry, including the circular economy of food mapping project, but we also are working on other ways to support food sector businesses with capital and with technical assistance. So again, I am a bit new in this position. A lot of things are in development, but I really want to encourage you all to stay tuned because we'll hopefully have more announcements about that coming in the summer and fall. Next slide, please. So this is just a very brief overview of the types of resources that I can help connect you with. I think we'll be giving this presentation out to those who need it and can click on all of the links that are here, or email me and I can direct you to the ones you're desiring. But at the very basics, you'll take the biz aid orientation. You'll also want some more specific information about how to start a food business in Austin. Maybe you're interested in starting what we call a cottage food business where you make products at home. There's specific state and local regulations around that you'll want to be aware of. Similarly, food trucks. So there are these kind of niche parts of the food industry that have specific regulations, and we can give you an overview of what those requirements are. Maybe you're looking for financing or funding. There are grant and loan programs I can connect you with, as well as the city's own incentive programs that Skyra alluded to as well. We at the city, we have specific goals for the food industry, including increasing access to healthy foods, increasing local food production, decreasing food waste, and increasing small business ownership and minority business ownership as well. So these kind of incentive programs, it's good to be aware of what we're trying to incentivize and to take advantage of what we're able to offer. So I'm always happy to discuss these as well. You're also able to get rebates for reducing food waste or donating food, and there are also regulations around food waste in general. If your business has a food permit, you need to be aware of those, and I'm happy to walk you through what those requirements are. For more specific uses or business ideas, if you're interested in selling at a farmer's market or starting a small scale farm within the city limits, there are also specific regulations around that I can walk you through. And if you're thinking, I'm just starting out, I don't know where I want to be in the food sector, but you want to get more context, we also have a lot of research that we've done over the years. We have a most recent State of the Food System report. This could really help you understand what's kind of the current state of things and where might my business idea fit in. Finally, my specialization is really around increasing access to healthy foods and working with folks on healthy food retail. So if you happen to be interested in starting a small scale food retail or large scale food retail operation, we should really talk. There are resources and to be aware of, and I can really guide that process. And I have developed some tools that highlight the opportunities that are available where we're really looking to see more healthy food retail across the city. So that last link there is actually an interactive map that highlights the kind of geographic scope of where healthy food retail is needed and where we will incentivize it. So really looking forward to connecting with you all, and please don't hesitate to reach out. There's my address there. Thank you.
All righty, Cassie, next slide, please. Should be on the question and answer portion. And that, those presentations that we just heard, I'm sure that they will spawn many questions. So we're at the question and answer portion. So if Cassie or Susan will address any questions that are in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat at this time.
Okay. For those who came in late, you can put your questions in the chat while we have a little bit more time to talk here. Go ahead and do that. I have moderator privileges, and so I have some questions myself. So let me ask this question. Can each of you give an example of a company you were successful in helping and provide some brief details of the situation? Anyone can go first, it does not matter.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. This is Kim. I'll hop in and go first. Can you confirm I'm unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll give an example. A few years back, I helped out an event space that was trying to increase their occupancy load. So they wanted to have the ability to have more audience participants in their space, in their event space, than they currently have. And so they came to me to find out, like, how do we know what to do? How do we know what the process is? How do we know what we're required to do? Do we need to change something about our space in order to get a higher occupancy rate? So I took them through the process, and I was able to get them an appointment with the expedited plan review folks, which is an amazing, wonderful service that department, the development services department, offers. And what it does is it allows several people from different departments around the table at once, like a one-stop shop, where we had someone from the fire department, someone from commercial building, someone from plumbing, someone from electrical, all sitting around at the same time with the event space operators and showing them, here's what you would need to do to your building if you want 50 more people or 100 more people, or if you did this or that. And they gave them a few options. And so this space, these operators were thrilled. They walked out the door after that meeting with a real plan of action. They knew what they were going to be able to do next. And I helped them with some follow-up questions and making sure that they were able to complete the process. And I was kind of their connection person with that. And so they were able to accomplish it and achieve a higher occupancy for their space.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Same question.
I won't be shy. I'll share a story. So my wife went to drop our daughter off this morning at her grandparents' house, and then she got stopped for coffee at the corner store, and there she saw an empanada from a company she recognized me talking about once. It was a company that I met with back in 2013. So we're going back a little bit a ways. And the founder of this empanada company had just moved to the US. He was an immigrant from Chile and came to Austin and wanted to start an empanada business and bring some of those flavors from home here to Austin. So we worked with him on his business plan. English is a second language, so a business plan is already difficult if you've never written one, but think about trying to write a business plan in your second or third, even third language maybe. So we worked together closely on creating that business plan so that he could go and access capital, and he started at farmers markets, got a food truck, and now he's working out of a commercial kitchen here in Austin, manufacturing these empanadas, and they're now available. You can stumble upon them at your local corner store. And so that was, it's really cool to see some of the little things that we can do to help really kind of pay dividends years later. And so I've been doing this a while. I get to see some of those companies that I met a long time ago, and that's pretty special.
Good, another successful story.
Oh, I can unmute myself. I have two short examples. So one is with our circular meetups program. So we started our business networking event back in December of 2020, really to give an opportunity for businesses to connect with one another. And what ended up happening was one of our speakers was in a breakout room with another company, and they met for the first time. And through that meeting and talking about the programs and products that they offer, they actually ended up partnering to lease a space together. I think it was 5,600 square feet. And both businesses, because of the opportunity to partner together, were able to expand their businesses and create more jobs in the process. And so right now, we're in the process of connecting them with our business incentive program to find out what reimbursement incentives they qualify for creating new jobs, and then of course expanding into a new space as well. So that's one example of how our business networking event actually connected two businesses so that they can both grow and expand and offer more opportunities for our citizens here within the city of Austin. Then there was another circular economy company who is who's here locally. They have a local presence, but they also have a presence in Houston. And so they're looking to combine both of those spaces into one location and move their operations completely into the city of Austin. So really excited again to connect them through our business incentive program. And they'll actually be creating 50 additional jobs in the circular economy to do some really incredible work. They're a veteran-owned company as well, and they're really, really working with our nonprofit community to take waste and 3D print reused plastic into furniture. So it's a really incredible work that they're doing here that's really supporting how do we continue to reuse materials and not allow things to just sit inside of our landfill. So they're expanding, they're creating more jobs, they're gonna have a larger location, so they'll also qualify for our property tax abatement incentive program as well. So being able to support our business community in those ways is really important to the work that we do here, while we're also taking care of the planet and providing more opportunities for our citizens. So just a couple of ways that we've worked with our business community here locally.
Excellent.
And I'll chime in with just a couple short examples as well from the food sector. So kind of similar to what Skyra just mentioned. So we were contacted by a hydroponic farm company based out of Houston in Harris County. And they're interested in relocating or actually opening a new operation here in Austin. We were able to meet with them, Skyra and myself, we worked together because there's many aspects of their business that are related to the circular economy. We work together not only to identify potential sites where they could open up a new operation, and that's based on the zoning and permitting dynamics, but also we were able to connect them with some of the rebate programs available from Austin Water and Austin Energy. So for example, they're able to tap into the gray water pipe system for their hydroponic system. Austin Energy also offers many incentives, including load sharing, so using power during a certain time of day rather than another. And these were really fruitful connections for them to really be able to identify where in the city they wanted to be, get tapped into the kind of infrastructure that they need, and also kind of receive an incentive to do so. And then on the other side of things, I've also worked with a couple local business owners who are in the Dove Springs area, Southeast Austin, who are interested in starting a kind of community food truck and event space in their neighborhood. And they're really at the basic level of figuring out their market niche, what their approach is going to be, kind of basic business planning. And I was able to talk through with them not only thinking about what are kind of the basic components that they should be thinking about to craft a business plan, but also what should be their strategy for approaching the landlord and looking for a particular piece of land in their neighborhood. So you can really run the gamut of kind of, maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you know exactly what you need and I can connect you to resources, the whole spectrum there.
Those are great stories, and they're evidence of the fact that the city of Austin is engaging our community, engaging our businesses, our nonprofits, our creatives, and that's a good thing. What our director would say, and Ms. Sylvia Holt-Rab, she would say, you're doing the people's work. And so those are all good stories, and I know that in the coming months and years, we'll continue to do those things. It is my understanding that we have 2 questions in the chat. And so I'm going to ask Cassie or Susan, whichever.
I'll do that. Our first question is from Sandy Stewart. Would any or all of you be willing to give a similar presentation to a networking group of women business owners in Austin? I think so many don't know about the resources available, and it would be great for them to hear.
Well, I can answer that question for everybody. Yes, we are always willing to come out and well, you reach out, I should say. In these days, it's virtual, but we'll come and present ourselves as well as our programs to whatever group would love to hear from us. That's a given. We love doing that. And the more we are able to do that, the more people we're able to help. And so I'm sure that each and every one who's on this particular virtual meeting would love to be able to do that. Is there another question?
Yes, from Yasmin. There is a question, are any of your programs able to help fund or find affordable artist studio spaces?
Yeah, this is Kim. I can answer that question. And there is a program I manage called Creative Space Assistance Program. And that program will be continued for the next year. And it helps creative spaces that have been displaced or are in threat of being displaced. So if you want to contact me, I can give you some details about that at kimberly.mccarson@austintexas.gov. I can type that in the chat if you want. That's KIMBERLY.MCCARSON@austintexas.gov. So that is a program called the Creative Space Assistance Program that does help with rent stipend for creative spaces that have either been displaced or are going to be displaced, or for infrastructure projects, leasehold improvements, for example, that will help retain or grow the business.
Excellent. Very good. Anybody want to add anything to that? Okay, any more questions in the chat?
Yes, sir. From Patricia, she is also interested in studio space for a visual artist and would like to know if there are any funding options or incentive, fellowship, etc.
Would anyone like to tackle that?
Looking at Kim again, but
Oh, okay, go ahead, Lance, go ahead.
No, I was looking at Kim for cultural arts representative. Did you catch the question?
Yeah, can you repeat the question? I was typing into the chat my contact information for the last person who asked.
Yes, I can. Patricia's interested in studio space for a visual artist and wants to know if there are any funding options or incentives or fellowship, etc.
So I don't know of any fellowship or other programs, but again, the Creative Space program for folks who maybe had a space and recently lost it because the rent went up, or couldn't pay the rent because everything got closed down, or things like that. Or if you want to build into the space to enhance the space and create more business, for that kind of thing, the Creative Space Assistance Program would be ideal. And I just put my contact information, my email address in the chat. So if you want to talk about your specific project, I can help you. The program is not, what's not eligible for the program would be like a private in-home studio space, like a garage or something in a residential area that wouldn't qualify, but I can certainly talk with you about what qualifications might look like.
And Kim, in addition to that same question, I think you could probably answer this from Yasmin. I am currently in a studio complex that is being torn down in a few months to be redeveloped for apartment complexes. So there are many artists about to be displaced looking for long-term spaces.
Right. Yeah. So the Creative Space Assistance Program might not cover, well, actually it could, because if you have left a space and the only other thing you can find is something that's more expensive than the space that you had that you no longer can be at because it's been torn down for some other use, then yes, the Creative Space Assistance Program again might be a program that you might want to look at.
Oh, those are good answers, good answers.
I see no further questions in the chat at this time.
Okay. Moderator's privilege, I'll ask question number 2. Are there any important dates in the future that you want our audience to look out for regarding your program? And that's for each one of you.
I'll go, Kim again. Yes, if you're familiar with the Shop the Block program, the Shop the Block program is expiring on June 16th this summer. So you won't be able to apply for it after June 16th. And the Shop the Block program, if you're not familiar with it, was created during the beginnings of the COVID crisis. And what it does is it allows businesses like restaurants, retail spaces, some cafes, and some cocktail lounges to expand into parking lots or on sidewalks, like a sidewalk cafe, or into an alleyway. Lets you request a street closure for something like that. And these permits last 6 months. So the last time that you would be able to apply for a permit like this to allow you to expand your business into the outdoors for safety reasons would be June 16th. So you might want to mark that if that's something you're interested in, or unless council were to extend that, which I don't know, but right now that deadline is June 16th.
Myself. Yes, so a couple things we have coming up. First is our next circular meetups will be June 1st. You can register on Eventbrite. You'll find, I'll drop a link in the chat for you all to register, and all of the events for the rest of the year are also listed on our Eventbrite page. And any of you are interested in being a speaker for that event, you can also find information on how to get in touch with me to request to be a speaker and present. And then also we have our Circular Austin Showcases, which is going to be taking place on July 28th. And so next week, what we'll be doing is we'll be launching an application link where anyone who's interested in pitching for that event to win up to $3,000 in investment funding for your business or your idea that's related to the circular economy, you'll be able to apply to pitch at that event and get in front of investors and potentially win a prize of up to $3,000. So I'll drop the links for both of those in the chat for you all, so you can register for the Circular Austin Showcase. And then once the application link launches, it'll also be on that Eventbrite. And then of course, our circular meetups, which take place bi-monthly, and the next one is June 1st. So really hope you all decide to participate in both or either of those events.
I don't have any specific days that you should be aware of, but again, I just want to reiterate, we do have a few programs in the works. So I encourage you to just stay connected with EDD, make sure you're on our newsletter, make sure you're connected with us on social media. We will have announcements over the summer and into the fall that you'll want to be aware of for the food sector.
Okay.
I already mentioned our next BizAid orientation on June 16th. And you can check out all of our classes. This is Small Business Week, where we've had, I think, 35 classes in 1 week, but we offer classes on a regular basis that are free or low cost classes. And so you can check out all those at austonsmallbiz.org. And I'll throw that link in the chat.
Fantastic. And before I forget, the lady who, or the person who asked us to possibly come out and speak to the group, please put your contact information in the chat so that we can get that and be able to get back in touch with you. We'd love to be able to respond and to serve your organization accordingly. And so please leave your name and contact information so that we can get back to you as early as we can, as soon as we can. Any more questions in the chat?
We had another question in the chat about if the presentation will be available, not just the recording, but the actual slides.
I think we can make that happen. Just leave your information in the chat and your contact information, and we'll.
No, don't do that. Actually, don't, because that'll be preserved and all of that for everyone else. Actually, we have everyone, if you registered through Eventbrite, we already have your info, and one of our team members will send out the slides to everyone who registered.
Fantastic. All righty, I had one more question. It is, are there one or two takeaways or nuggets that you want our audience to remember about your program?
Okay, this is Kim. Yeah, so takeaways, I think my biggest takeaway is if you are moving into a new space, please make sure that you're in the right zoning for what you do, for what your business does, and that you have your certificate of occupancy. And if you don't know, please contact me and I'll help you find out.
Very good.
This is Carol. I'll say my biggest takeaway is that you don't have to go it alone. The food industry can be really complex. It can be really overwhelming. It's really multiple industries in one. And within the city, depending on the type of food business that you have, there are different regulations and ordinances that apply. And there's many different incentive programs and financial resources that you may not be aware of. So please don't hesitate to be in touch, and just remember that we're here for you.
I would just say, you've heard quite a bit of the services that the city offers, but again, we're not the only organization in town that is helping creatives or startups or existing operating small businesses. If you're new to Austin or new to business, you are lucky to be in a community that has so many resources and has a ecosystem that can support in so many ways. And even though it's growing very quickly, I think it still is a city that is very approachable. So don't hesitate to reach out to people and ask for advice, ask for a connection, for a resource. if you do it in a gracious way, I think you'll find that most people are very gracious in return with their time and their advice and connections. And it's a community that is collaborative in that way. So thanks for joining us at the end of Small Business Week.
Couple nuggets from my end. I know you all probably know at least more so about our zero waste master plan and our zero waste goals. Just remember that our circular economy team is here to support the business and economic development component of that. And so our job is mainly to be a resource to you. So please feel free to reach out to me, schedule your one-on-one business engagement. My job is to help you to identify and remove any challenges or barriers that you're experiencing, or provide you with support and resources and connections to help you take advantage of any opportunities that you're seeing as well. And then of course, connecting you to other businesses who are doing this work. Circular economy is new, it's an emerging field and industry. And our job is to make sure that we're helping to grow that ecosystem here in the city of Austin, which isn't really happening anywhere else in the country. So we want to make sure that we're supporting this work because it's central to Austin. It's central to our goals as a city, and we want to make sure we're supporting the resident side and of course the business and economic development side as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. If I don't have the answer, I promise you I can connect you to someone who does.
All right. Any last minute questions? All right. I just got the indication that there are no further questions in the chat. Thank you, Lance, Skyra, Kim, and Carol for presenting today. I also want to thank my colleagues, Cassie Jackson and Susan Walker, for producing this segment and keeping me straight. We appreciate each and every one of you for helping to make this presentation a success. And thank you to all of our audience members for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time to attend this presentation. Don't forget to complete the survey. We need to hear back from you. And don't forget the next segment of this series on May the 14th at 2 p.m. And don't forget to visit our smallbusiness.org for information regarding our future events. It's called Small, S-M-A-L-L, Biz, B-I-Z, Austin, AUSTIN.org for more information. Thank you again for coming today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next time. Have a great day, and please stay healthy. Thank you very much. This concludes our event.